Hello and welcome to our business legals threesome. I have two very business savvy legal women here with me. I have Shalini and Michelle, who have very generously agreed to come on here and share their wisdom with us about business legals. So welcome, Shalini and Michelle.
Thank you, Avalon. Very happy to be here. Looking forward to the questions and the discussion.
Thank you so much. Because legal stuff is not my strength. I'm the first to admit that. So I thought, to be able to support women in all aspects of business, legals is really quite an important thing. It creates some structure, some foundation, some clarity. So, we could just dive straight in. I'm really open to hearing any advice and wisdom that you have to share, keeping in mind, when we're starting a business, obviously I know there's registration and things, and that all varies depending on where you live. But would you like to share what are the main things to consider when you're first setting up a business?
Do you want to start, Shalini?
I think the main things to consider when you are setting up your business, I come at it from the point of view that legals are one of the pillars of a good foundation of your business. So my background is in business building. I also have, I'm a legal practitioner, but very interested in the journey that people go through when they're setting up a business. So when you are setting up a new business, the thing that you need to keep in mind as far as legals are concerned, I think, is not to get so caught up with just marketing your business that you forget about the other pillars that will hold up your business in the long term. And of course, legals is one and financials is the other. So where at startup do you fit the legals in? Straight up, it's how you're going to trade, what your business structure is going to be like. And that's a decision that's made it's a decision that's a financially based decision as much as it is a legal structured decision for your business. So you need to remember right from the get-go that your business is not just about marketing, okay? There's always going to be a legal and financial component to it. And so your business structure is one. Then, as your business develops, there's a number of things that come to mind in terms of the legals you need to consider. So you've worked out how you're going to trade and what business structure you have, and that's something that you would decide from a legal standpoint, as well as your financial structure within your family, your personal finances, your assets, etc. Then you would go along and you would think, well, look at your services or your products, and then from there stem a number of other legal considerations which arise from who you're dealing with, what kind of relationship you have with your clients, what you're selling, what is it that you are presenting out there as a product or a service, and how do you want people to interact with you? So from there you would go down the line and definitely consider how you want to contain or describe your relationship with your clients, and to educate your clients about how you work. And you go into the client agreement sector, and then from there, everyone has a website. So same thing, you're dealing with people. You're dealing with people that need to know about how your business works and how you want them to interact with you. So you need to consider the legals that go on your website. A little bit down the track, if you're branded really well, and if you're doing, if your logo is particularly trademarkable, if your product is unique, if you need to protect your product, your branding, then you need to go down and have a look, consider seriously the trademarking process to protect your business. But again, it's all about, the stage of business you're at and how you are growing, I guess, because all these things work together, like, your financial position, your mindset about your business, and your legal position, like they're all related. You can't operate one out of isolation from another. So I think that they're really where I would sort of like, in the first instance, when a client, I speak to anybody about it, I do find out where they are in their business before I provide advice on how they need to view the legals they require at any one time. And of course, underlying all of this is the key, I guess, from how I come at it is from a self-advocacy point of view. Overarching any business, any startup, success very much depends on your ability to self-advocate in your business. So my work is about teaching self-advocacy. So it means that I have these conversations with my clients about how comfortable they are with advocating for themselves and where does that place them in relation to the amount of legals or what legals they require. And self-advocacy is about negotiation skills, communication skills, dealing with other people, dealing with rejection, and coming back up again, negotiating different terms. So it's a little bit wider than just do you need a legal document, is what I'm saying.
Okay. I'm interested in that part because when you say self-advocacy, that's like being able to, I'm just correct me if I'm wrong, but this is like being able to express yourself clearly and have boundaries and have strong agreements so each person knows their responsibility without resorting to legal documents. Is that what you mean?
Absolutely. I also mean that the legal document, it allows you to inform the documents that you do choose to have in your business. So, if you have the skills, your agreements and your legal documents, they're platforms for negotiation. Always were, always will be. They're not cast in stone. They're not, infallible. Having them will not stop someone from attempting to sue you, whether they're right or wrong, whether it's trivial or whether it's frivolous, right? If they want to do it, they will bring an action. So there is no such thing, in my view, as having a document and considering that to be the be-all and end-all. What makes that document useful for you is if you view it as a platform for negotiation and for discussion and to have something to refer to as a framework. So to support that document, you also need to have a very good look at your skills in that regard, how you advocate for yourself, how well do you negotiate, how do you feel when somebody says, look, I'd like a change, or I'd like to vary something, or can we talk about doing it a different way, okay? These are the things that I guess underpin how successfully you manage any legal document that you do have. A legal document on its own means very little in terms of your health in your head and your heart about how good you feel about your business.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to do that other work as well. And that's where I guess my love lies, my zone, that yes, I draft documents and I enjoy it, but my real love comes from having those conversations with people to gauge where they're at and then to support them to a space where they are confident in their own skills in handling, managing, presenting their documents as something that's useful and a super tool in their business, if you will.
Thanks. Thank you very much. That's really helpful. And
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. And I'd love to hear from you, Michelle, as well.
Sure.
If you have something to share about what to be aware of when you're setting up a business, what are the things, is there something that you can add or a different?
Sure.
Yep.
Sure. So absolutely, like Shalini, I would say that your legals are the foundation of your business. And the way I describe this is when we start up as entrepreneurs, all of the information we're given is to just get it out there, just get it up, get it created, get it done, and not stop so much to think about the process to get it put, don't worry about being perfectionist about it, just get it going. And we forge forward to do this, and it's probably the right thing to do in many ways, that we've just got to get over that first stumbling block and get it created. But then we've built this gorgeous castle in the air, and we're ready, we've got clients coming in the door, and we're ready to grow and expand, and we start to think, it doesn't feel stable. It doesn't feel solid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the time when you come in and you really think about putting your solid, firm foundations underneath that castle in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And as Shalini said, your legals and your financials, that's the time when you come in and invest in getting those sorts of structures set up. Although, as she did mention, the actual outline of your castle, what business structure you use, that's important to get right from the start. Although it can be adapted over time, but to get a bit of advice so you understand just what the obligations are in terms of the structure you're setting up in the regulations. So like registering your business name, getting your ABN, finding out what regulations are specific to your industry, all those sorts of things do have to be ticked off right at the start before you even think about building your castle. But then go for it, build your castle, and when you sort of got that feeling that this is going to work, this is actually, people are coming in the door, that's when you come back and think, okay, now I need to put those solid foundations in place.
Yeah.
And so in terms of relationships, that's where I come in. I'm a mediator as well as a lawyer. And so I'm all about communication. And the traditional view of contracts is of this barbed wire fence. They're there to protect you in case your clients and your business partners suddenly get possessed by a brain-eating monster from outer space and they want to take over your business and destroy everything you've worked so hard to build. That's a view of contracts based in fear and avoidance of liability and, protecting and keeping me on this side and you on that side. And I don't believe that for us as heart-centered entrepreneurs that is where the value of contracts lies. I see contracts as a sacred container. They manage this, they hold the space for your relationship to happen and to flourish. They set the ground rules. They manage your expectations and your clients' expectations. They tell everyone, this is how I work. This is how I need you to work with me. This is what you can expect. This is what we're going to do if we go wrong. They're all the details, all of that stuff that you don't want to be explaining over and over and over again. Every time you get a new client, you don't want to have to go through all this with them. You want to just be able to hand them a document that says, look, this is everything you need to know about working with me, so you can feel calm and confident and secure that you know everything that's going to happen and what you're going to get out of the deal and what you need to pay me and when we're going to meet and how we're going to meet and all of those details. And the same goes if you're collaborating with someone, if you're running a course or a group workshop, you may not need such a detailed contract, but still preparing that document that sets out all of those details is really important. And then the other place I come in is in risk management. And now that's, in entrepreneurial fields, that's often a dirty word. People have either come from a corporate background and they've got some experience with risk management and they think, never touching that again, that's boring, that's hopeless, that's terrible stuff. Or they've come in from a more creative field or a more holistic field and they know nothing at all about it. And then that's like, oh, that's some sort of scary thing that business does and I don't need to think about that. That's sort of corporate and icky and I'm not touching it. The way I see risk management is in your subconscious, you've got all the caves underneath your castle. And I mean, from a mindset perspective, you'll probably already be teaching things like this. But there are dragons in those caves. And those dragons might be limiting beliefs or they might be real world dangers. But so long as you're just looking at the cave and seeing the wisps of smoke coming out, they're going to be scary and they're going to be paralyzing you and creating self-sabotage. So the way I teach risk management is to get those dragons by the tail and drag them out into the light and actually look at what are your worries, what are your doubts, what are your what ifs, where are they just limiting beliefs that you can bless and let go, and where are they real world dangers that you actually need to take some action around. So by tightening up your disclaimers, getting systems and processes and procedures in place that you follow each time so that everybody has clarity and consistency and certainty about how things operate, including you. Where are they things that you need to manage for your business, insurance, all of those sorts of things. They all come into that.
So that's I really resonate with that as well, because I I suppose my perspective of the legals has been very fear-based. Like, not that I'm afraid of it, but it just feels like, oh, you know, that's for people who are going to get like taken down by some horrible clients, and my clients are awesome and we communicate really well, so I feel completely fine. But, you know, what you were talking about, you know, client agreements, so everyone's on the same page, that kind of thing needs to happen before money's changed hands, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think you need to have the client agreement or your version of it that speaks in your voice and represents your business and how you operate available to the client before they pay you for anything.
Yeah,
because they, you know, it is a there is an understanding at the very base level that you're going to do something for them in exchange for some money, right? And that simple exchange is actually it's multifaceted. I mean, we need to talk about what the money was, how it's exchanged, what happens if something goes wrong, what each other's understanding is of what's being delivered, you know, what you're promising to do for this client, and what the client's expectations are in relation to that service, and when are you going to deliver, how are you going to deliver, how do you want to be communicated with, what's your boundaries in terms of how you work, when you work, why you work, who you work with. Okay, these are the things that on the face of it you wouldn't think that they were legal considerations, but they inform your document. And if you are okay with it and you're solid with it and you know that you've done the background work and informed your agreement, you know, really honestly and truthfully as to how you work, and you take responsibility where you are meant to take responsibility, and you understand that there are some, you know, fair and reasonable is not a dirty word. Client agreements should be fair. Why would you expect a client to sign something you wouldn't sign yourself? If you look at your own agreement and think, you know what, that doesn't sound fair.
Yeah.
Why would you offer that to somebody in the first place? And already you feel terrible about it because you don't connect with it yourself, right? Yeah. So I think very definitely you do need to have this document in place in some form, or your version of it, properly drafted, available to the client prior to them actually paying you for a service. Yeah. And can I just say too, like this client agreements and pretty much any agreement you create for your business, it's a real quality assurance tool. Okay, put the legal nature of the document aside. If you are guided through it by a practitioner such as myself or Michelle, we will help you ask the questions that will quality assure your process. Yeah. Okay. If something is not right in that process, it'll become very apparent, and you will have to change it because it's going to prove to be difficult for you to manage later. And there's reasons why it'll be difficult, probably because you haven't thought it through properly, probably because it is contrary to consumer law, perhaps, probably because the tone of that stance that you're taking could be better phrased, better presented to the client. So these are the things that, you know, really you're quality assuring your sales process in your business. And like it or not, we are in business for a reason. We have bills to pay, money to make, kids to educate, groceries to buy, holidays to take, right? So at the end of it all, it needs to be a document that's going to invite the client to the table and invite discussion rather than be something that you're not connected with. You're giving it to somebody else and expect them to be connected with it. And so the likelihood of communication shutting down is just that much more amplified. So, it's very, very true what you say, Avalon. It is something that needs to be on the table in various places in your business, not just at the time of paying, not just at the pay now button. If you love it, if you love your business and you know your processes, you should feel good about offering your terms and conditions and your client agreement anytime you hand out a proposal, on your invoice, on a page on your website, anywhere where it is easily accessible to the client. So it becomes a no-brainer that you run a business, you have the ground rules, you're more than happy to serve your clients, but within a certain framework that is there to support them as much as it is to support you.
Yeah, thank you. So it's really about getting clear about, it really helps in your business to get clear about what you're actually offering. What's your responsibility? What's the outcome that the client's expecting, and what's their responsibility? Putting that in words, and then getting someone like, one of you guys to look over it and go, okay, well, that's actually...
Well, preferably to get us to draft it. I actually find that it's a lot, you get a better outcome myself if you have that guidance from the start, because then it's a shorter process, it's a tighter process, and I think that you get to where you want to go quicker. I also think that, and I think Michelle would agree with this, is that in the startup world nothing stays the same. We are always evolving and changing. So what you started off in the first week of your big idea or your passion idea looks very different 3 months down the track, looks again very different 6 months down the track, and 2 years later you're probably in a business that you didn't even conceive of when you first started, because there's so many ideas, so many evolutions, so much coaching, so much everything that you go through. So part of the process of self-advocating in your business is to navigate change. To learn to roll with the punches, to make decisions, to be comfortable with your documents enough to understand that, when change is due, it's okay, they'll be amended, they'll be changed, that it's not cast in stone, okay? What I always say to my clients when I've finished drafting is, remember, this is your document, you own it. You can set it aside, you can waive it, you can change any part of it by agreement, so long as you just have it documented somewhere. And you can actually use it to improve your business or change your business, because you know where you're starting and you know where you want to finish. Your document will tell you that. So, I just wanted to actually point out to the people that, the lovely people that are part of your tribe, that change is great. You got to learn to roll with the punches, and part of managing your business, your ideas about how to manage risk, is being able to be to manage change. Okay, so as soon as it's usually when there's change pending that people also find themselves in a state of flux and wonder where they're going with their business. Does this agreement stand up? Do I need another agreement? But again, it's part of the self-advocacy umbrella. If you know how to manage those aspects of your self-growth, then definitely you will you will guide your legal agreements. They won't guide you. You will own them. They won't own you. Okay. That's my point.
Great, thanks. And I love that also what you said, Michelle, about it being a sacred container. It is that agreement as well. So you really both really clear. And I'm curious. Were you going to say something else?
I was just going to say that, just to quickly follow on from what Shalini said, that that risk isn't always threat. Just like change isn't bad, risk isn't always threat. Risk is opportunity. So just flip the script on that one. Risk is opportunity.
Yeah, thanks. And I know we sort of thought we'll keep it within a half an hour. We're nearly getting there, but I'm curious. I know this might be opening a can of worms, but just if you could touch on the idea of insurance. Because, we got these agreements, is that a whole other conversation?
It is. Insurance is a whole other conversation. And also, a lawyer may not be the best person to have that conversation with. There are specialists in insurance. A lawyer can tell you in your industry, these are the types of insurance that you should think about.
Yeah.
A lawyer can definitely put into your agreements information about what insurance you have and what insurance your clients might need, and put in disclaimers and limitations of liability. And those aren't, I mean, they're big legal words, but they basically just mean, again, setting the boundaries.
Yeah.
And giving warnings, appropriate warnings, to show that you have thought about the safety of the people working with you, and what possible damages they could, what possible damage or danger they could face in terms of things that could be harmful if they took your information wrongly, if they didn't do their own research, if they handed their power over to you and just went with what you said instead of really standing in their own power and making their own choices. Those are all sorts of areas. But
the thing I think what business, new entrepreneurs, or even 2 or 3 years down the track, need to consider in relation to business insurance is that most business insurers have their own criteria of why they would why they would insure someone. Okay.
Yeah.
So number one, you have to find someone that'll represent your industry. So if you're in an industry where you're conducting a business, if you have qualifications, like we are lawyers, and so there is a whole industry around legal insurers or insurers for legal services. It's the same for the traditional professions. When you move out of the traditional professions and you've got people in this space that Michelle and I operate in who are running businesses in healing, coaching, the lines get a bit blurred on a couple of levels. Qualifications is one, and that's a criteria that business insurers look at. If you don't fall into that criteria, then you'll have to find one that will extend their coverage to your work, whatever that may be. So that could take a bit of finding, but there are people out there that do that. Generally speaking, I reckon when people ask me that questions, I have a list of brokers who deal with my clients that have insurance requirements. The other thing too is what I've found in my experience is a client agreement really helps because insurers want to see what steps you're taking to mitigate the risk in your business. So if you have decent, if you have well thought out business terms and conditions in place, if you have a well thought out client agreement in place, if you really are going a lot, doing your best to educate your client about your business, how you work into, and all of that goes towards mitigating risk, towards containing risk. Okay. The more you educate, knowledge is power. The more someone knows.
It's also important to know your industry too. So, for example, as lawyers, as the traditional professions, you will have requirements for insurance in particular professions. But then there's also the basics like your public liability insurance if you're holding live events. There's running professional indemnity insurance. But it's really specific. Insurance is something that's really specific on a case-by-case basis.
But for your tribe, Avalon, if your question is how should they view business insurance? Okay, business insurance is not a replacement for good terms and conditions and good boundaries in your business, because that's your relationship, or good practice. That is your relationship with your clients. That's the front line. When they're looking for business insurance, depending on what their personal qualifications are and the industry they're in or the type of work they're doing, they will very likely need work well with a broker. Okay, because the bigger business insurers are still quite traditional in there, but they're changing. It's worth a phone call, and always remember that it's important to have business insurance, but it's not a replacement for what those things that we just pointed out before. Good practice, having your boundaries in terms and conditions and client agreements in place, and pretty much to not just restricted to client agreements or websites or to business terms and conditions. If you enter into other relationships with suppliers, with collaborators, in a joint venture, if you do one project with somebody else, consider putting your agreement down on paper. Consider getting it as having a session with myself or Michelle to see what's what, how should they navigate this. It doesn't have to be complicated. You just need to know that you are going into it with asking the right questions, so that when you come away to commit it to paper, you've got the right information. And if something needs negotiating, then that's where you start.
Yeah.
So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah. There's just one more thing I wanted to touch on, because we are running out of time, but I'm a huge fan of DIY. And as Shalini said, you can just write it down yourself, and I support DIY in a number of different forms. But if you're going out there and using templates, because there are so many templates available on the internet these days, or even when you get a contract that's drafted by a lawyer like Shalini or myself, read it carefully and make sure you understand and are totally comfortable with every word in that document. It needs to be something that's coming from your heart. It needs to be the heart of your business. And I say, contracts should be written in the love language that your clients deserve from you. It shouldn't be some incomprehensible legal jargon that no one understands, because it's never going to work that way. Templates too often can be something that you just sort of tack on the outside of your business because you think you have to have them. And really, that's doing your business a disservice. And it's doing your clients a disservice, that it really should be that kind of integral heart coming from the heart document.
Yeah, and every business has a voice. You've got my business has a different voice to Michelle's business. Avalon, your business has a different voice to somebody else who's working in the same zone as you, right? Yeah. So how you communicate needs to be taken into account. Yeah. And it needs to be fluid and a part of the picture, not a big stamp across that looks like it's contrary to the picture. Yeah. So that's the thing, I think, is a big part of this work or in these groups of new entrepreneurs and heart-centered entrepreneurs, people who are following their passion, is to bring to their attention and to teach them that you can also bring other parts that are important to your business, like your legals, like your financials, like your insurance. You just have to stand in your truth, but know that it can be done. And so you don't hide from it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't be scared of it. Don't hide from it. Don't hide from doing those things because you feel that it can't be done. Of course they can be done. Michelle and I do them every day. Our businesses are built on it. Yeah. Okay. And same with other professionals, finance professionals. I have myself gone and found people who understand me and how I operate for them to represent me in my financial decisions, to support me in my financial decisions. So I guess, it's all part of the big picture and the big journey of entrepreneurship. It's not done. It's not something that operates in isolation. If you don't have a business, you don't need the legals. If you have legals, you need a business to support it. It can't operate without an intimate knowledge of each other. And that can be messy sometimes, but it's part of the journey.
Thank you. It's so helpful to have this conversation, because for me, I suppose I would see legals as a real separate animal in terms of that old school view, but it's all right, well, this is just about clarity. It's about respect. It's about honouring what we're doing and who we're serving. So everyone's on the same page. And I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's apart from honouring your clients, you're honouring yourself. Yes. You yourself are, you're placing yourself in a position where you want to, you feel that you have given that respect to your own business, your own creation, you are celebrating your style, you're celebrating your passion, because you're not just letting it be used and abused however anybody wants to interpret or or mess with it.
You're setting up your brave boundaries.
You have created it. Therefore, you are honoring yourself by putting these things in place.
Yeah. Thank you.
And the other thing is that the contracts I draft, I hope that they never ever see the inside of a court, because that's not their function. There's not for a judge to interpret them and say, well, this is what happens. It's they're living documents to manage the relationship as a living relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. I noticed, Emma, you joined. Is there anything that you wanted to quickly ask or share, or have you just been soaking this in? I know I can see that your microphone's muted, but if there's anything that you want to ask, feel free to jump in.
Hi. Look, I have just been soaking this in. It's been really enlightening and wonderful. I have to admit, I had never even thought about client contracts. So this is an area that I hadn't even given any consideration to yet. So really interesting to learn a bit about that and get my head around it, and just learn how I can approach it without that fear and in a really positive way. So that's really great. So thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Emmeline, I'm so glad you enjoyed us.
Yeah.
Because we don't know, Michelle and I, this is our first joint discussion, and it's been great. This is the only way I think that we can effectively kind of educate people, like raise their consciousness. It's not about the documents, Avalon. It's not about the documents. It's how you feel about your business and how you feel about being in that relationship.
And
that's what it is.
Just creating time and space to focus on this part, a bit like the money stuff. For a lot of women, they'll be like, oh, I don't want to talk about money. Oh, I don't want to talk about legals. But if you just sit there and shine the light on it, like you said, Michelle, bring the dragons out into the light.
Get really curious.
Let's create some agreements. Let's get some clarity.
Ask the hard questions. Put the messy stuff on the table. The people that you surround yourself with should, in this zone, it's wonderful, this heart-centered space, because no question is taboo. No situation is difficult. So there's a lot of support and a lot of discussion, and it's perfectly okay to, judgment is really minimal, I find. People can be themselves, and they can say who they are and do what they do best, and craft a business around that. And in the same way, they can make sure that the things that support that unique, beautiful creation of theirs, what was considered the hard stuff, which is the legals and the financials, there are people out there just like Michelle and I who do that stuff. And it becomes something you look at with ease and grace, rather than something that you look at with fear and trepidation.
It saves you so much time and money and effort and chaos. To just have this in place.
I think, and just
rather than scrambling, like when something goes wrong and you have to scramble to try and, what am I going to do? What's wrong? Someone's just asked for a refund. I don't know what to do. What happens? Well,
things will go wrong. Humans are humans.
Conflict is everywhere.
Nature of it. That's the nature of human relationship. It's the reason we are here. That is our sole purpose, is to resolve these learnings, to find our way through the these situations present, so that so we can learn and grow. And if we don't learn and grow, universe keeps sending it back. And sometimes I think, that's a really good little explanation to put on my website about why you would need a lawyer, but I really don't want to go down that road. I'm just saying to you that, conflict is inevitable, because people's emotions and their level of consciousness and vibration is unpredictable and unknown to us as business people. So it's up to us to do the work inside, to watch ourselves, to create that framework, that space for ourselves, those ground rules, those house rules that tell people, this is my temple. Take your shoes off at the door and come inside.
I love that.
And then the more effort you put into making sure that everything is clear, that everyone has certainty, and that everything is done consistently, the less problems you're ever going to face. The more solid your foundations are going to be.
Beautiful.
So, Emmeline, what do you do?
I'm a yoga teacher.
Beautiful.
And, I'm really just getting started, getting things set up slowly. I have a qualification, so in a way that makes it easier. I've got, an ABN, I've got insurance set up, but I'm still trying to find my way through those really early setting up the business.
So can I ask you, is it okay if I ask her a few questions, Avalon, just to help the discussion along? Because if someone...
So you did say you had an appointment, Shalini.
Yeah, I do, but I can't help myself. Have you started to see clients?
Yes.
Okay.
So
congratulations.
Excuse me, sweetheart. Look, at the moment, my clients range between, I do some work for gyms. So, I'll go into a gym and teach a class for them. And so I guess the gym is my client in that case.
So all I want to say to you, because I like to leave people with a takeaway, is that thank you for coming today. The takeaway for you is start writing down the things that are working in your client relationships and the things that you would like to discuss with someone like Michelle or I, or that aren't working for you. Okay? If people did this from the day they started seeing clients, at about the time they're ready to consider a client agreement, which should be quite, not too far away if you're starting to make money, your journal will be very helpful. So and people forget that. They think they'll remember everything, but no, just start writing down what makes you happy in that relationship and what doesn't, and that's a fabulous start to how you're going to grow your business.
And the things that worry you.
I did have a thought of a couple of questions. Firstly, how do you find people like yourself and Michelle to work with you who are going to be on the same sort of wavelength as you? Because I am really wary of speaking to, the lawyery type people and financial type people, because they seem like they're coming from a completely different world.
I don't know. I think you ask.
Groups. There's lots of groups aimed at.
Worth to contact any lawyer. I find that's a very different experience. And so that's a little. Yeah, intimidating.
So what you can do is ask for recommendations.
And find people like Avalon.
Find business groups or Facebook groups aimed at entrepreneurs, aimed at the type of tribe, the type of people that you enjoy hanging out with, and ask for recommendations.
And
Michelle and I both have newsletters. You've met us now. You can contact us both. There's
and that's what I was
some work
say.
I don't do, some work Michelle does. Michelle's a trademarking guru. She's going to be doing my trademarking. So, I can give you, it's not my love. Trademarking is not my love, but she's really, really good at it. Yay, you do it. And I'll send you people. But you find people like Avalon. Like there are podcasts and key people that you are following on Facebook, ask them, hey, do you know a heart-centered lawyer? I'm sure Michelle and I are not the only ones. And usually they'll put a call out, and and people will tag people they know, right? So it's how Avalon found us.
Yeah.
You probably didn't know. Well, you never found us, otherwise, would you?
Yeah, well, I already had both of you guys on my radar.
Did you? Oh, that's not okay. That's nice to know.
That shows our visibility is working.
So, on that note, I would love to share with the women watching, what are your contact details? So if someone really does want some support, can you share how would they get in touch with you?
Okay, so because I'm going to have to go very shortly. Legally Shalini. So my business name is Legally Shalini. My name is Shalini. So, I figured that'd be pretty hard to forget. And I have a website, which is legallyshalini.com.au.
All right.
And I have a Facebook page, which is Legally Shalini. So there is no confusion about how to find me.
I'll put the link with this video as well.
Yeah, I think I emailed it to you, so you probably have it in your email.
I'll put it there.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And Michelle,
Yeah, and my website's under construction at the moment. I'm just doing a bit of rebranding, but you can always get me at michelle@michellewhitehead.com.au.
Yep.
There's also Michelle Whitehead AU. There's a photographer in America. His name is Michelle Whitehead. She does wedding photography. So everywhere you'll find me is Michelle Whitehead AU, just to say that I'm an Australian.
All right. Well, I'll
but
put
yeah, there's Facebook, and there's also my Facebook group, Business Serenity, which is just
really
basically
good group too.
A constant sharing of information. It's a very small, intimate group at the moment. I've got an ask away hashtag, so just ask anything. Shalini's in the group, so you've always got access to us there.
All right. Well, I can put the links. So did you say you've got a Facebook group to a page, Shalini?
I've got a business page. I don't do. I'm not brave enough to do a Facebook group.
I'll put the links to the page and your group, Michelle, with the video, so people can jump on there.
That'd be beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
it's been lovely talking to you, Avalon.
It's been fab.
Emma.
That's so fun. Thanks so much, and thanks for coming,
See you, Emmeline.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.